Whispering Shadows welcomes you all. The shower of decay, a nightmare that crawls. Sam wasn't quite sure how to describe the smell. It wasn't strong enough to demand his full attention, yet it lingered, stubborn and ever-present. Like a mosquito, irritating only when acknowledged. But like a mosquito, Sam found himself unable to ignore it. The water streamed over his skin, hot enough to scald but just shy of boiling. It cascaded down his slicked back hair and pooled at his feet. Every study in the world could warn him about the dangers of excessively hot showers, but Sam didn't care. The shower was his sanctuary, a place where he could reflect and be alone with his thoughts, comfortably. Not much longer, Sam muttered to himself, a faint smile curling his lips. He pictured Erica's face in his mind, cute, eager, and perfect for a night like this. They hadn't exactly gone on a proper date, she was coming straight to his place. He liked the directness of it, the implied promise of intimacy without the formalities. Sam glanced at the bottle of shampoo on the shelf. Time to stop hogging all the hot water, he joked to himself, reaching for the faucet. But just as his hand moved, the smell hit him again, sharp and undeniable this time. His nostrils flared as he inhaled. It wasn't the smell of mildew or bad plumbing. No, this was different. Faint but potent, like something decomposing a few doors down. A dead mouse in the walls? He wondered aloud. But even that explanation didn't sit right. Sam scanned the shower, his gaze darting across the pristine tiles and chrome fixtures. The cubicle was large enough for two, a deliberate choice on his part, but not so large as to hide anything. Unless it's me, he murmured, lifting an arm and taking a cautious sniff. The recoil was immediate. Damn, he groaned. Guess I didn't shampoo properly. He grabbed the bottle and lathered up again, this time scrubbing with purpose. The soap foamed and bubbled, sliding down his arms and legs before disappearing into the drain. Satisfied, he rinsed off and stepped back for a final check. The smell was worse. Sam's brow furrowed. He stared at the shampoo bottle in disbelief. The water seemed harsher now, each droplet striking him like a tiny pellet. The hiss of the shower and the rising steam became overwhelming, a cacophony that filled his ears and mind. He covered his ears, silently pleading for the noise to stop. The smell intensified, sharp and suffocating. It wasn't body odor, it was something primal, something that made his stomach churn. The shower cubicle, once spacious, now felt claustrophobic, the walls closing in around him. It's just the steam, Sam whispered to himself. It's messing with my head. That's all. Forcing himself to act, he reached through the mist and turned off the faucet. The sudden silence was jarring, the only sound now his labored breathing. But the smell remained. I'll deal with it later, he muttered, reaching for the shower door. His hand froze midair. His eyes drifted to his arm, where a dark spot had appeared. It could have been mistaken for a mole, but he was certain it hadn't been there before. Sam touched the spot tentatively. The skin felt soft, unnaturally so. Pressing harder, his finger sank slightly, the flesh giving way like overripe fruit. And then, with a sickening squelch, the skin tore. Black, viscous fluid oozed from the wound, sliding down his arm. Horrified, Sam stumbled back. The dark spot widened, the skin peeling away like old paint. The smell, now unbearable, filled the confined space. His arm trembled as blood and rot seeped down to his fingers. The flesh decayed rapidly, revealing bone beneath. What the? Sam's voice caught in his throat. He slipped on the wet tiles, crashing to the floor. Pain shot through his leg as it twisted awkwardly beneath him. Gasping, he forced himself to sit up and inspect the damage. The sight made his stomach lurch, his shin bone jutted through the skin, white against the slick redness. Help, he shouted, his voice echoing off the tiles. Somebody help me. But no one would hear him. Erica wouldn't arrive for another hour. He was alone. Sam's chest heaved as he fought to control his breathing. He propped himself up with his good arm, desperate to think clearly. But then he noticed his leg. The black rot had spread from the fracture, the flesh writhing as if alive. Tendrils of inky blackness snaked out from the wound, twitching and pulsing. No, 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 he whispered, tears streaming down his face. The tendrils pressed against the floor, dragging his leg across the tiles. Sam clawed at the walls, trying to pull himself away, but his strength was fading. His remaining arm now bore its own dark spots, the decay spreading like wildfire. Wake up, he begged. This is a nightmare. Just wake up. The shower faucet loomed above him. In a desperate move, he reached for it and turned the water back on. The hot spray cascaded over him, washing away some of the black ooze. For a moment, the smell lessened, and he felt a sliver of hope. But the tendrils didn't stop. They climbed higher, wrapping around his torso and squeezing. Sam's vision blurred as the pressure mounted, his ribs creaking under the force. The rot consumed him, his body dissolving into the same black sludge that now coated the shower floor. As his consciousness faded, the last thing Sam saw was his reflection in the fogged glass door. His face was almost unrecognizable, a grotesque mask of decay. And then, there was nothing. Hours later, Erica stood outside Sam's apartment, her phone in hand. "He's not answering," she muttered, her fingers hesitating over the screen. She had called twice already and sent a couple of texts, but there had been no reply. The lights were on inside, visible through the living room window, and Sam's car was parked in the driveway. "Maybe he's in the shower," she said to herself, though unease crept into her voice. Finally deciding to act, she used the spare key Sam had given her a few weeks ago. The door clicked open, and she stepped inside. "Sam? You in here?" Her voice echoed faintly through the apartment. The smell hit her immediately, a pungent, cloying odor that made her gag. "Oh my God, what is that?" she exclaimed, covering her nose with her sleeve. Erica hesitated in the entryway, her heart pounding. The smell seemed to come from the bathroom. Her stomach churned as she approached, each step heavier than the last. "Sam, are you okay?" she called out, her voice trembling. No answer. The bathroom door was ajar, steam still lingering in the air. Erica pushed it open, and her breath caught in her throat. The sight before her was something out of a nightmare. The shower stall was coated in black sludge, thick and glistening under the fluorescent lights. Tendrils of the substance clung to the walls, pulsating faintly as if alive. The stench was overwhelming, a mix of decay and something far more sinister. But the most horrifying sight was the pile of flesh and bone at the center of the shower, unrecognizable but unmistakably human. Erica stumbled back, her hand flying to her mouth as a scream tore from her throat. Her phone slipped from her grasp, clattering to the tiled floor. Trembling, she forced herself to look away and fumbled for her phone. Her shaking fingers dialed 911. "This is Erica. I'm at 1425 Westbrook Drive," she stammered into the phone. "There's been something terrible. You need to send someone now." "Ma'am, can you describe what happened?" the operator asked, their voice calm but firm. I don't know. My friend. He's gone. There's something in the shower. I don't know what it is, but it's not human." Tears streamed down Erica's face as she stumbled out of the bathroom, collapsing onto the living room couch. The wait for the authorities felt like an eternity. Erica's mind raced, replaying the horrific scene over and over. What had happened to Sam? What was that black sludge? And, most chilling of all, would it come for her too? When the police and paramedics finally arrived, Erica could barely speak. They entered the bathroom cautiously, their expressions shifting from professionalism to sheer horror as they took in the scene. One of the officers, a seasoned veteran, stepped back, his face pale. "This isn't right," he muttered. "This isn't natural." The hazmat team was called in to deal with the strange substance. As they worked, Erica sat in the living room, wrapped in a blanket, answering the officers' questions as best she could. But there were no answers, only more questions. Could it happen to her too? When the police and paramedics arrived, the apartment became a flurry of movement and voices. Erica sat frozen on the couch, clutching a throw pillow like a lifeline. Two officers approached her, their expressions professional but tinged with unease. "Miss, are you hurt?" one of them asked gently, crouching to her level. His badge read Officer Grayson. "No," Erica whispered. "I didn't touch anything. I just found him like that. Can you tell us exactly what you saw?" He pressed, his tone soft but insistent. Erica hesitated, her mind flashing back to the grotesque sight in the bathroom. "There was something in the shower," she said haltingly. "Black, like tar. It was alive, I think. And Sam, he wasn't." Her voice broke, tears streaming down her cheeks. Officer Grayson exchanged a grim look with his partner, who nodded and disappeared into the hallway. "Stay here," he told Erica. "We'll take care of everything." In the bathroom, the forensic team worked quickly to assess the scene. One of the investigators, a veteran named Linda Hayes, bent over the black sludge with a look of deep concern. She held a sample jar in one gloved hand and carefully scraped some of the substance into it. "This isn't like anything I've ever seen," Linda muttered to herself. The substance twitched and recoiled as if resisting containment. "What in the hell is this?" Her partner, a younger man named Jeff, glanced over. "Toxic mold, maybe? Or some kind of industrial waste?" Linda shook her head. "Mold doesn't move, and this? It's warm. Almost alive. She secured the jar and handed it to Jeff. "Get this to the lab. I want answers yesterday." As Jeff left, Linda turned her attention to what remained of Sam. The sight was stomach-churning, even for someone with decades of experience. The flesh was almost entirely dissolved, leaving behind bones that appeared strangely melted. The air was thick with a chemical stench, but underneath it lurked something worse, something unnatural. "What the hell happened to you, kid?" Linda murmured, her gloved hand hovering over the remnants of Sam's ribcage. Suddenly, a faint click drew her attention. She turned toward the shower head, which had been dripping intermittently. Now, water began to flow again, slow but deliberate, as if the faucet had been turned. Linda frowned and stepped back. "Hey, Grayson," she called out. "Get maintenance up here. This plumbing's gone haywire." Before she could take another step, the black sludge began to move. It oozed toward the flowing water, coalescing into thicker, writhing tendrils. Linda froze, her eyes wide as the substance defied every natural law she understood. "Grayson," she yelled, her voice rising in panic. The tendrils lashed out, one of them striking her leg. Pain shot through her as the fabric of her pant leg disintegrated on contact, revealing skin already blackened and blistering. The bathroom erupted in chaos. Linda screamed, stumbling back as the sludge advanced. Officers rushed in, weapons drawn, but the sight of the living mass stopped them in their tracks. "Don't shoot," Linda gasped, clutching her leg. It's not just sludge. It's alive. Get out of here, now." But it was too late. The tendrils lashed out again, striking one of the officers and wrapping around his neck. He struggled, his eyes bulging as the black mass tightened, cutting off his air. Another officer fired a shot, the bullet striking the substance and causing it to recoil momentarily, but it quickly regrouped, stronger and more aggressive. "Retreat!" Grayson barked, pulling Linda out of the room. The remaining officers dragged their injured colleague to safety as the black sludge surged toward the door. In the living room, Erica jolted as the chaos reached her ears. She stood, her legs trembling, and moved toward the hallway just as Grayson emerged, half carrying a limping Linda. "We need to get out of here," Grayson shouted. "Now." "What's happening?" Erica cried, her voice high with panic. "No time to explain," Linda groaned, her face pale. "Just run." They barely made it outside before the black sludge burst through the bathroom door, spreading across the apartment with unnatural speed. It moved like a predator, seeking out life to consume. The group stumbled into the street, gasping for air as the apartment's windows darkened, the sludge filling every crevice. Neighbors gathered, their faces a mixture of curiosity and alarm. Erica clung to Grayson, her heart racing. "What is that thing?" she whispered. "We don't know," he admitted, his voice grim. "But it's not staying here." Within minutes, fire trucks and hazmat teams arrived, cordoning off the area. The firefighters attempted to douse the apartment with water, but the black sludge seemed to absorb it, growing larger and more aggressive. Inside the command center, Linda watched the scene unfold on a monitor. The sample she had collected earlier sat on a nearby table, sealed in a reinforced container. Even now, it pulsed faintly, as if aware of the larger mass outside. "Any updates from the lab?" she asked, her voice tight. A technician shook his head. "Not yet, but whatever this is, it's not from here. It's got organic properties, but it's not like any life form we've ever seen." Linda's gaze hardened. "Then we have to assume the worst. Underscore." Days later, the incident at Sam's apartment made headlines, but the details were vague. Officials cited a chemical spill as the cause, urging residents to remain calm. But Erica knew the truth, or at least part of it. Sitting alone in her apartment, she replayed the events in her mind, unable to shake the image of the black sludge consuming everything in its path. Her phone buzzed, startling her. It was a message from an unknown number. "It's not over. Be careful. L." Erica's blood ran cold. Before she could respond, a faint, familiar smell wafted through the air. Her heart stopped as she turned toward the bathroom. The faucet was dripping.